Good morning, everyone. I hope that you're having an absolutely amazing day. Today, we're going to go back to the second story in our book, and we are going to read about Oliver Twist. Now, Oliver Twist was originally written by Charles Dickens. He was a very, very famous British writer, and he wrote in the 1800s, okay? And his stories are also set in that time, okay? Oliver Twist is a story about a young boy and how he struggles to live his life as an orphan, okay? An orphan is a child whose parents have either abandoned him or passed away, okay? So this story is set in England, and we are introduced to Oliver when he's first born, okay? And he is born in a workhouse, okay? During this time in England, a workhouse was a place where people who were really poor could go and they can live and they can get food and they work there, okay? It was characterized by absolutely terrible living conditions, okay? The people were not treated well. I think it has something to do with people believing that they're poor and therefore they don't deserve to be treated the same as people who aren't poor. Okay, so keeping that in mind, we're going to listen to our story. And before I go on, I do want to introduce some more vocabulary to you. In this time, Christian churches were called parishes, okay? So a parish, when we're introduced to it, is in reference to a robe. So a parish robe would be a church robe. So pastors, they wear robes. And parishes are the churches themselves. An asylum, a private asylum, would be a place for homeless people. So poor people who don't have a place to sleep or work or eat, they go to this place and they can be given food and they'll have a place to live. While it sounds really great, like I said, it was much like the workhouses and people were not treated properly, like people. The word cunning means to be very clever or smart, but not, sometimes it, like in reference to this, it's not in a good way, okay? Sturdier means to be made stronger, to be able to resist getting sick or that kind of thing. A coal cellar is not a cold place, but it's a place where coal was stored, and it was usually underground. It's called a basement also. It's underground. The next word is toiled. Toiled means to work very, very hard. Okay, so it's not a good thing if you say I've toiled. It means you've worked and you've almost hurt yourself. Okay, so we're going to be introduced to this, and the way our story is this week is in form of a comic. If you have not read a comic story before, I'm going to show you how to read it. The yellow boxes, or the solid boxes we see at the top, those are giving us background information. That is something that is my setting, maybe it's my problem, that kind of thing. The little circles, the solid circles like this is something that someone is speaking. So usually it points to the person that's speaking. In the first box, we see that the doctor is speaking, and this little bubble line points to his mouth, okay? Here we see that the doctor is speaking this bubble, but the nurse is speaking this bubble, okay? Sometimes there is another bubble and it looks like a cloud. It's kind of got little wavy outsides instead of the straight circle outsides. That's a thought bubble. We don't have any in our story, but I want you to know that, okay? Like I said, yellow, background information. Circles are speaking, okay, and they point to the person speaking. And then we don't have any in this particular comic, but we may later on. But the little clouds, those are thought bubbles. And we read this just left to right like we normally do. So we'll read this box completely and then we'll move to this box and so forth. Okay? This can be found on page 21 of your textbook. You will find it a lot easier if you follow along, so you can also see my pictures. All right, we're going to get started. Oliver Twist was born in a workhouse, but the newborn could barely breathe. The baby is barely breathing. I am not sure how it will survive. The nanny gave Oliver something which helped him to revive. The doctor placed the baby in the dying mother's arms. She kissed him on the forehead and died. Oliver was an orphan from the minute he was born. Do you know where the lady is from? Who is the child? No, sir, she was not a local. As no one knew about his family, the child was covered in a parish robe and sent to the parish. So he was sent to an orphanage. There, Oliver was not fed or taken proper care of. There was no female to nurse the young children. So he was transferred by parish authorities to a private asylum. Mrs. Mann, the caretaker of the asylum, was a cunning lady. She fed the children very little food to make them sturdier. Please give us something to eat. You had enough porridge in the morning. I cannot provide you with more foods now. Instead of giving them food, Mrs. Mann beat them up and locked them in the coal cellar. One day, a church official named Dr. Bramble came to meet Oliver. I have come to take Oliver where he was born. We have failed to track down his family so far. I will send Oliver to you in a minute. The board members held a meeting that same evening. Oliver, you should be grateful for all the blessings and favor you have received so far. Now you need to start earning. You will be picking oakum from tomorrow. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention. Oakum is like a fiber that people use to make string. I wonder what I should be grateful for. Oliver toiled throughout the day, but by the end of the day, he was barely given any food. All boys working were fed inadequately. Everyone remained desperately hungry. This cannot go on. We can barely survive with this amount of food. Oliver, you are the boldest amongst us. You should speak to the workmaster. Oliver met the workmaster. Please, sir, I want some more food. How dare you ask for more food? I will complain about you to Mr. Bumble. Subsequently, Oliver was beaten up and put to jail. The board put out a poster offering £5 to anyone who would accept Oliver as an apprentice. They couldn't wait to get rid of him at the earliest. So this is not the end of Oliver's story. There's a whole book, but this is all that's in our story. To quickly recap what happened, we see that Oliver was born, and when he was born, his mother passed away. Therefore, he was sent to an orphanage where he was continually mistreated and starved throughout his life. Whenever he reached a certain age, he was sent to work, and he continued to be mistreated by those he worked for. And eventually, he would go on to do a lot of things in his life. If you're interested in reading the full story, you can just Google Oliver Twist and it'll pop up. I highly recommend this story. It's a great one. It's well written. If you have any questions, please let me know. Don't forget to submit your comprehension questions on Google Classroom. Have a great day.